Stick with it. We got to get out of breakthrough thinking and get into brick by brick thinking. So the breakthroughs only happen brick by brick, but oftentimes people don't allow themselves to get there because they are quitting before they have the opportunity to see their breakthrough come through. So if you are starting small, if your skill is small, that's okay. Stick with it and it will develop into something bigger and perhaps more lucrative over time. Hey, Courtney Sanders here. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new to me, I'm a full-time life and business coach as well as wife and mom. I wear all the hats and do all the things. And also, I am super passionate about helping you turn your success story into a 6- or 7-figure personal brand. And one of the biggest ways you need to do that is by mastering a high-income skill. Mastering a high-income skill is something that I've talked about a lot on this channel, particularly when it comes to building your business, finding a profitable niche, and being able to attract coaching clients consistently. And so I always ask, for comments and feedback, and a lot of comments that I received is, how do you build a high-income skill? And so I thought that this would be a great video to talk about, especially because my journey is really one of building a high-income skill and multiple high-income skills over time. So hopefully you've heard my story on other videos, but if not, I got my start actually fresh out of college. I lost my engineering scholarship after I stopped going to class to try to pursue a business. And so I got heavily into personal development when trying to get my scholarship back and pay down debt and, get my grades back up and all of those things. And so I started blogging my journey, not because I thought anybody would read my blog, but because most of my friends had graduated, because since I lost all my credits and, changed my major, I ended up taking 6 years to graduate from undergrad. So my friends who graduated on time, they all took off and, started their new lives with their new jobs. And I was still, stuck at my university trying to finish my degree. And so since I didn't have anybody to hold me accountable, I was like, well, why don't I just blog? This was like back in the 2009, 2010. So blogging was just becoming a thing. But I was like, why don't I blog my journey and hopefully I'll get some readers, not to sell them anything or to make money, but just so hopefully that they can hold me accountable. And so hold me accountable, they did. They watched my journey as I developed self-discipline and, got back in school and did all the things I needed to do to earn another scholarship and ultimately graduate magna cum laude, which was really exciting. But once I achieved all those things, I had, paid debt down, I had gotten a really great, job in government banking and finance. After school, people started asking me, hey, how did you do all of that? And I knew the answer was self-discipline. That's what I had mastered. I had read books on it, I had practiced, I had done little self-discipline experiments. And so I put together, some small programs all around these topics and slowly but surely started to attract people who were actually buying. First it was my ebook, then it was attending my event, then it was a small masterclass, and it started to grow from there. So that was like my first skill that helped me generate some income. But after that, people started to ask me, how is it that you are making money like selling products on all these personal development topics? Like, doesn't everybody hate self-discipline? Nobody wants to learn that, yet you are getting all of these people to enroll in your self-discipline course. You're getting all these people to buy your goal-setting book. How are you doing that? And so that was really my first foray into business coaching, where I started teaching people the methods that I was using to build my brand and to attract an audience and to ultimately sell my products and programs. And so it was like that little self-discipline skill then started to morph into a business skill. And so over time, I went from, being able to teach on that to being able to teach on a variety of things, including how to scale your own business, how to, start a coaching business and scale it to 6 figures and then scale it to multiple 6 figures and ultimately 7 figures, which is what I've done for myself. So hopefully my journey is a bit of a preview for you on what it takes in order to master a high income skill. But if you want to know the specifics, you're in luck, because I'm getting ready to get into that right now. All right, the first thing that you need to pay attention to when it comes to mastering a high income skill is you want to look at what is lucrative, meaning what is it that people pay for? Now, granted, it has to be something that is connected to your actual story. So for me, it started with self-discipline and then got into blogging and then branding and then business building and then so on and so forth. But a good barometer for if it's something that is lucrative is, are people actually paying for it? And I say that because a lot of people, particularly in kind of, I call them the softer coaching niches like, life coaching or personal development, oftentimes they don't have a very clear or firm niche that they are operating in. It's just kind of like vague, like, oh, I help people do better in their life. I help people with their whole life. It's too vague, it's too soft, and that at a broad level is not something that people pay for. It's kind of like saying like, I sell medicine, and it's like, okay, what kind of medicine? Is it headache medicine? Is it stomach pain medicine? Is it back pain medicine? Like, people want something that's gonna be specific for their situation. So you wanna look at your life story and your journey and all the things that you've achieved for yourself, and then ask yourself, what is lucrative, right? Look at what is lucrative and see what are those aspects of the things that you have accomplished that other people are actively paying for. Not that they'll say they'll pay for, right? Because too many coaches make the mistake of asking their family and friends, hey, would you come to my, if I created a coaching program all about how to live your best life, would you buy it? And your family and friends who don't want to hurt your feelings are like, oh yeah, girl, I would totally buy it. And then you spend all this time creating this program and then no one joins, right? So you want to look at what is lucrative, meaning what are people actively paying for? And again, what are the things that you already have in your repertoire based on your story and based on the things that you've accomplished, and then focus on building high income skills there. All right, and the second thing that I've already kind of touched on is that you need to connect it to your core. So connecting it to your core means connecting it to who you are as a person. So part of that, again, is connecting it to your story and connecting it to your actual journey, meaning you should not try to coach on anything just because it's lucrative, but it's not something that you've personally accomplished, or it's not something that you have mastery on, or it's not connected to your story in any way. But also, you want to make sure that it is something that you are passionate about and is something that is related to your life's mission and your life's purpose. This is what I mean by it being connected to your core. So what do you feel like your purpose is, right? What did God put you on this planet to do? What is it, the change that you want to see in the world? What is the mission ultimately that you want your life to be about and that you want to live for? You should also be focusing on skills that are in that arena as well. So you almost want to think about it as like a Venn diagram with, 3 circles. You want to look at your story, you want to look at those passions, your purpose, your mission, all of those things, and then you want to look at what is lucrative, and then you want to see what is right there in the middle. And so if you can zero in on that, that is going to be a high income skill for you, not just because it's something that people want to pay for, but it's also because you're going to have a level of like magnetism about it, right? When you talk about it, your face is going to light up because it's connected to who you are as a person, and that makes you more attractive as a business owner, as a brand, and as a coach, and that itself is going to make people want to work with you. So you want to have all of those things lined up, but if you do, you are standing a really good chance of developing a very high income skill for yourself. All right, the third thing you need to do to develop a high income skill is to stick with it. Yes, I said this in previous videos, we gotta get out of breakthrough thinking and get into brick by brick thinking. So the breakthroughs only happen brick by brick, but oftentimes people don't allow themselves to get there because they are quitting before they have the opportunity to see their breakthrough come through. So if you are starting small, if your skill is small, that's okay. Stick with it and it will develop into something bigger and perhaps more lucrative over time. When I first got started, as I just shared in my story, the only skill I had was self-discipline. That was the only thing I could teach on, and that was the only thing that I could help people with. But in the midst of being committed and sticking to that skill of self-discipline, I ended up developing other skills that ended up being more lucrative that people were asking me about, namely this online marketing, the business, and the branding skills. And so from mastering those skills, that has allowed me to develop even more skills that are even more lucrative than those that people also now ask me to coach them on. So the skill that you start with might not be the skill that you end with, but you need that skill ultimately to get to what is going to be your high income skill. So no matter what you do not give up and make sure that you are sticking with it. Okay, I have more where that came from, but first I want to hear from you. What do you think is your most valuable skill? Share in the comments below. All right, the fourth thing you need to do if you want to master a high income skill is you need to build when you're a beginner. So one of my biggest pet peeves, especially when it comes to becoming an entrepreneur, building an online business, or becoming an online coach, is that so many people sit on the sidelines until they feel like they've got everything figured out, right? They don't want to coach anybody until they feel like they're a master at it. They don't want to start their business until everything is perfect and they know exactly what it is that they're going to do. That is the opposite of building while you're a beginner. I built when I was a beginner. I built before I had perfect branding. I built before I had perfect programs. I built before I was the coach that I am now. I am a way better coach than I was in the beginning, but that doesn't mean that I still wasn't able to help people. And so an example I always use is think about the iPhone. There's been like over 30 different versions of the iPhone over the course of it's been 15 years since the iPhone came out. Do you remember that first iPhone? Like, the first iPhone didn't have nearly the amount of features that our iPhones have right now. But imagine if Steve Jobs was like, nope, I'm not gonna release the iPhone because it's not perfect, and I want it to be the best when it comes out, so we're just gonna wait until we can figure everything out. Part of how you figure things out, how you learn things, how you really master that skill is in the process of action. It is in the process of making mistakes and, even having failure sometimes. So you have to have the humility to begin while you are a beginner and understand that that is going to kick off those building blocks that is ultimately going to lead to your breakthrough. So stop with all this sideline thinking, meaning you think that you can sit on the sidelines and get to where you're trying to go. You need to get started right now. The fifth thing you need to do if you want to master a high income skill is you want to model mentors who have that skill. That is something that I did in the beginning and something that I've continued to do and that I do even to this day. And this is so important because obviously you don't know what you don't know. So when someone has a skill and you are looking to develop that skill, if you work with them in some sort of mentorship or coaching capacity, they can show you what needs to be done in order for you to develop that skill. But often what I feel like is even more important that a lot of people get lost on and that they don't realize is that there's certain aspects to learning that you can only pick up by what I say being right up under somebody. And I always use the example of apprenticeships from like the olden days, Nowadays we understand, okay, you go to school for X amount of years and then you go off to college. But before we had university systems and public education, I'm talking like back in biblical times, people did apprenticeships, meaning they would find the master of the craft or the master tradesperson and they would just work alongside them. And so yes, the tradesperson would tell them, okay, you need to do this here, you need to hit the hammer like this, or whatever it is that they were learning. But also that apprentice learned a lot just by being in that person's energy and seeing how they thought about things, how they approached problems, and just how they handled their craft and what they were working on. And so that's why mentorship is so important, because no matter how good the mentor is and how great of a teacher there are, there's always going to be aspects that they're not going to be able to articulate that you're only going to get if you can see them in real life and kind of like be right up under them. And so by seeing how they operate in their business, by seeing how they operate in the world, you are going to pick up far more than if you try to just figure all of this out on your own. So modeling mentors is hugely important. I've invested well over $100,000 just last year in terms of modeling mentors for everything from my business to my speaking to all kinds of things that I've needed in order to grow my business and really grow more successful in my personal life. So make sure you are modeling mentors if you're serious about mastering a high income skill. If you enjoyed this video, you're gonna love my free 5-day Nail Your Niche Challenge. This is a challenge that we do for 5 days, is live with yours truly, where we help you pinpoint and really nail down your niche so that you can build a profitable and a successful business. And since you're wondering how you can master a high income skill and you need to figure out what it is in your journey and your story that you can monetize, we go over that in depth inside of the 5-day Nail Your Niche Challenge. Now it's free for a limited time and we do limit the amount of spots. So go ahead and click the link below to see if there are any spots available. If there's not, it'll redirect you to a wait list. But if you see spots available, go ahead and join, because once we hit that wait list, you'll have to wait until the next time that we host the challenge. All right, thanks so much for watching this video. If you loved it, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe. And if you want even more, make sure that you are subscribed to my podcast, The Courtney Sanders Show, on both iTunes and Spotify. And if you want even more where that came from, make sure you're following me on Instagram. It's CourtneyLSanders, where I share even more tips like this, plus the behind the scenes of my life. And with that, I'll see you in the next video. Bye.